Kung Fu, Martial Arts, Taekwondo, Judo, Karate, Sistema. Kung Fu. This is Martial Arts Musings with your host, Dwight.
Welcome everybody to Martial Arts Musings. I am your host, Dwight, and this week we're going to introduce something new to the podcast. We're adding some video, and with here to me today is Master Linh, returning to the cast, to this show, and we're going to talk about 3 different videos. Welcome to the cast.
Well, hello, Josh. Hello, martial arts community out there. Wherever you are, hope you had a pleasant week. Recovering or celebrating the Super Bowl, whichever team you're on. But I'm glad to be here.
All right, well, let's get started. So what we did was we videotaped, or we recorded some of your students performing some combinations, some forms. And so let's take a look at this first one here.
Right.
So we'll load it up.
So as the form coming up, and so here what you are seeing is an empty hand form, and so just to cap it generally speaking real quick for our audience. So basically in Vovinam, the systematic training in Vovinam is comprised of 3 levels. The first basic level is just learning the basic technique first, right?
Right.
In this case, the first initial 10 attack combinations, and then and so once a practitioner learns these basic techniques or basic combinations, we will put them together to an empty hand form for the individual to practice and to demonstrate, his artistic expression in an individual form.
Right.
So what you see here is instructor Tom, and he is demonstrating the form called the cross form or Thập Tự Quyền in Vovinam, and it is a combining of the 10 attack combinations, which we will probably see in a little bit at the end of this form.
Yep, so as you can see, he goes through the entire first form, and then we will move on to, as Master Linh was referring to, the secondary form. So then we have 2 people coming up in this form. Okay. So.
Right. So here is the breakdown. Right here, that you're going to have instructor Tom on the left and instructor Dwight on the right. They are going to demonstrate the breaking down of the 10 attack combinations that was like, you see it integrated in the empty hand form.
Right.
So they're going to break it down to 10 basic techniques.
Right.
So yeah, so this is the
first 10 techniques that an intermediate level Vovinam student is practicing, right?
Correct. I mean, and you say intermediate, it's interesting because it's still
a basic level.
Yeah. So this is intermediate when we say that is at about a dark blue, right before the dark blue belt.
Right.
But in Vovinam, it's relatively right at the beginning of the intermediate level.
Okay.
Right. So, with this, so in the initial phases of most martial arts out there is, so get the students to be comfortable or more skilled in the concept of the best defense is offense.
Right.
So, so the attack combinations are just that. They are just, you're seeing threat, you see the threat looming, and so you initiate the attack first.
I see.
Right.
And so as we see here in the video is one person's attacking and the other is just kind of going with the flow of it, taking all the attacks, not necessarily defending.
Right. And that's just so that the attackers will have a live person that provides sort of like a biofeedback to see so that he or she can can see where is the spot on the body that he wants to hit.
And maybe even the distance, maybe, they're not quite within reach and maybe need to
learn to
get closer.
Right, and adjust that distance.
Adjust to however far your opponent is and get used to your own kind of, ability to kick farther or punch farther. Or
Exactly. So, at an early, so this is part of that first phase.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just to learn the basic techniques, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the applicable techniques. And then they put together into an empty hand form that you've seen earlier.
Right.
So that they can try to visualize this in their head with a non-opponent or with an abstract opponent.
Right.
Okay. It's just it's just a way to deliver the artistic expression.
Right. So another way to train, and another way to if you're just by yourself, you don't have a partner, then you can do the form by itself and kind of tweak it the way you want to. And then when you have a person to practice with or spar with, you can then work on certain other things like distance and timing and things of that nature.
Exactly. You're right about that. Yeah. So and then the third level, the third aspect of Vovinam is to synthesize these basic techniques together into an actual sort of like a setup scenario, combat scenario, where things are not so static anymore, or things are sort of like it's one person perspective.
Right.
You have
so now you have two people.
You have a dynamic, right?
Okay.
A two-person interacting under the duress, under combat duress. Even though it's a scenario setup, but it's now a duress. There's the element of duress that apply on both on both partners, right?
So maybe basic level sparring.
Exactly.
Where you're just getting a feel for it and you're expressing each other lightly against each other, right?
Exactly. So that they can begin to apply these techniques into simulated combat situation.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So let's take a look at this third form here.
So you have a mixture of attack combination techniques,
and
counter attack, and some counter attacks, and then some self defense.
I see.
That they learn in the basic level, at the basic levels, and now they incorporate it into this. So this is usually at the get into the second phase of their intermediate level, that they will begin to put this stuff together.
Gotcha. Right. And how many different combinations will they practice in probably the first two? So you have, the 10 attack combination, you have the form based off of that.
Right.
When do you start to incorporate it? After how many of those type of forms?
So after, I appreciate you asking that. So that was a excellent question. So after the first 10, so they learn all the self-defense separately first.
Right.
Then they learn the 10 attack combinations.
Okay.
Then they learn the counter-attack level 1. After that, then they synthesize into this dueling form.
So that's where they bring it all together.
They bring it all together.
And start to, play with all the defenses, all the attacks, all the counterattacks, all the counter defenses.
Right. To bring them all together and synthesize into this. After this, then they'll learn a next set of defensive techniques, self-defense techniques. The next set of attack combinations from 11 to 20, and the counterattack level 2.
Okay.
Right. And after the counterattack level 2, so by then they would have learned 2 additional empty hand forms.
Okay.
So the 11 to 20 attack combinations will form the 5-gate form.
Okay. And
the counterattack level 2 will have another form. It's called the Bim Fung Guing, or the square circle form.
Okay.
And so after the practitioner get really good grasp of the technique and artistically internalize the techniques, then they'll get into a partner simulated situation again, and the dual level 2.
Okay.
Just like that one. Okay. And so in Vovinam, so what you saw that we graphically trying to share with our audience is just that is the training scheme, if you want to call that, the largest training scheme in Vovinam.
Okay.
So whether it be empty hand techniques
Right.
or weapon techniques,
I see.
I think you previewed our instructors doing their knife defense.
Right. They've been practicing their knife defense. Yeah.
And then they collate together into a dueling session.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same kind of format.
Okay.
And it goes from basic.
Just instead of just hand to hand, then you put a weapon on each hand and then work it with it that way.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you do that, and then after the knife, then you go to a longer weapon, the sword.
Okay.
Right, and that is going to be at the beginning of the advanced level.
Okay.
And so they will start to work with a sword, and it works the same way. You have basic techniques, self defensive tactics with a sword, and then learn a sword form, and after sword form, then it'll be a dual sword. For two
people, yeah.
Yeah, so it gets interesting.
It gets very interesting. Yeah. Very fun. Yeah.
Very fun because, and then after that it'll be the staff, right?
Oh, yeah,
so even a longer weapon.
Okay. So what is the staff the longest weapon you go with, or is there even?
Well, the staff is the longest weapon to which you have in the systematic format.
Okay.
Right. So there are other shorter weapons in between. There's the machete, the axe, the fan, and so those are some of the weapons. A more modern application of the weapon is the bayonet. So in Vovinam, we have self-defense techniques against an empty hand against a pistol, handgun, and empty hands against a long weapon, in this case a gun, a rifle. So they have those techniques, and once students get comfortable with that, and this is really at the advanced level. And then they put together too in that way.
Very nice, very nice. Right. Well, hopefully we can record some of that and present that to our listeners later on after this. Would you like to add anything else? I know you have a big demonstration coming up at the end of this month. Yeah, so an integral part of the Vietnamese culture is Tet. It's also known as Lunar New Year. This Lunar New Year is an interesting shared cultural activity for both Chinese American as well as Vietnamese American. Right. So this year the Tet, or Vietnamese Lunar New Year, is in Seattle area. Is gonna be the biggest festival the community has organized. You're looking at the order of 10 to 15,000 people come in and celebrate this. Not just with the Vietnamese community, but to a larger community in the greater Seattle area. So every year for the last 12 years, Tet in Seattle is the Lunar New Year Festival out there in Seattle Center. So you guys are welcome. The audience, everybody, are welcome to come and celebrate Tet with us as a part of the Vietnamese culture. Vovinam has an annual martial art performance during the festival on both Saturday and Sunday that weekend. So the dates are February 21st and 22nd. Oh, excellent. It'll be at in ceremony, and some aspects are being done at the Armory, and a lot of the large performances, including our martial art performance, will be over at the Fisher Pavilion. Okay. So our martial art performance will be from approximately 12:10, 12:15 to 12:45. Okay, on both days? On both days. Okay, cool. So if you guys are in the Seattle region and want to witness or just watch more Vovinam and see lots of different demonstrations that this great team puts on, go and check it out. We'll share the link, and we'll share the link so you can all be able to track and see what programs they have. Besides the martial arts, on Saturday
I'm just making this for all the men out there and maybe women. If you are enjoying fashion, right after the martial arts, in about half an hour or so, there will be a Miss Vietnam. There's going to be some very fantastic looking women, ladies, presenting áo dài or the traditional gown, and so it's going to be a Miss Vietnam Washington contest.
Oh, okay.
So
that's a good way to get more of the culture, more of the traditional
aspects that will be showcased. So it's going to be great. You guys should be there.
Yeah. Right. All right, folks. So you heard it here. Go to TET. Watch these videos. You can watch them on YouTube. I'll put them individually on YouTube. But if you really want to grasp all the aspects, listen to this podcast, and we'll talk through it. And so I'll put just the individual one, so you can, after you've listened to this podcast, you can go back and be like, okay, this is the cross form. Oh, this is the attack combination, and here's where they put it together. So you don't have to keep listening to this one over and over and over again. You can just keep watching the videos.
Right.
So I'll send out a link to that.
Yeah, because listening to Josh, listen to me, it's quite boring. Maybe not Josh, but to me,
listen to both of us. Yeah,
it can be mind-boggling sometimes. But if you, and I say this to honesty, with all honesty and sincerity, is that I hope that we'll get feedback. Yep. I would appreciate very much feedback from the community, martial arts community out there.
I as well. So anything we can do better, anything you'd like to hear, see, just let us know. I mean, I'll include his email like usual. I'll include my email as usual. So
right.
All right.
So let's engage, and with that, I think this blog post is fantastic. It's a way for us to connect with our martial art brothers and sisters out there. Let's communicate, and I hope that I might be able to have been a catalyst for some of our exchange. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, Josh.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being on the cast, and thank you everybody for listening. This has been another Martial Arts Musings. Have a great day. Bam.